shares of Palo Alto Networks on a tear. Your third quarter billings jumped something like 27%. Talk to us about what's driving that growth. Does this have to do with all of these hacks that are happening and increased demand for companies to protect themselves? Does this have to do with remote work? What's driving it?
Emily, nice to be back on your show. It's both of those things. As you've seen, the pandemic drove two major things. One is it drove this need for people to be able to work from home. And we saw the early signs where companies were buying capacity about 6 or 9 months ago. Now what's happening is people are re-architecting everything to try and get us to a place where they can be equitable for employees who are going to continue working from home and people who make it to the office. If you add to that the fact that everything was technology enabled, we all had to get our revenues to come from tech-enabled platforms because the physical world was kind of shut down. There's been an over-reliance on technology, and now we have these unfortunate incidents of a multitude of hacks around us, which are creating heightened awareness of security and hence driving some of the buying in the security space.
So speaking of heightened awareness, of course, Colonial Pipeline, SolarWinds, Microsoft Exchange. Is there something new and different and more dangerous about these hacks, or is this more of the same, hackers simply getting more brazen?
It's a bit of, Emily, with the constant adoption of technology everywhere, we're trying to make our systems open to our consumers who can access us from anywhere. Well, guess what? If you open access to your systems from anywhere, you have the potential of bad actors getting into your system as well. I think that's one vector of it. The other part is the hackers are getting more sophisticated. It's gone from being a hobby. There's real economic value. You can sit far away in a remote location, hack somebody, demand to be paid and get paid in Bitcoin. There's no traceability. So of course, they're getting more brazen in that context, but they're getting smarter. They're going after core infrastructure pieces because that allows them to go penetrate multiple companies and multiple governments around the world and then decide when and where to direct their attention from an economic value perspective.
Now, Colonial Pipeline paid the hackers in that case more than $4 million, Bloomberg has reported. When it comes to another company, CNA Financial, which is a huge insurance company in the United States, we're reporting they paid $40 million in ransom just to get their data back. Is that normal for a large company, a price that high?
Well, Emily, it depends on how you compute the price. Look, I'm not a huge fan of paying ransomware because what it does is it encourages more ransomware to happen. Having said that, when these people have gone into your systems, they basically crippled your entire business. You got to decide what it takes to go shut your business down for a day and how many days can you afford to have your business shut down? And then how long is the recovery cycle and what is it going to cost? I think when you add all of that up, I think $4 and $40 million is what people have justified as appropriate as instead of business. It's kind of like business interruption insurance, but they still have to go back and refresh all their systems, shut it all down, clean everything out, and probably go out and re-architect their security architecture.
Have you seen ransomware payments and demands increasing over the last year? Do you see them continuing to increase over the coming years significantly,
well, they have
or even
increased
exponentially?
They have increased. Last year, I think the highest demand we saw was $20 million. We're already seeing $50 million asks this year, and we're only in June. We're only in May. We're not even in June yet. So I think what's happening is the demands are going up, and also it's correlated to the sophistication of the actors. They're going out there and they're understanding what it takes to go cripple your infrastructure. They're sitting there, they're extracting data, they're asking you to pay for your data. They're actually trying to sell the data on the dark web. So this is a big problem. This is a non-trivial problem. It requires everyone in business to pay attention to their architecture to make sure that as they create more online capabilities for their business, for their systems, they're making sure that security goes in lockstep with that capability.
You've launched something that you call a zero trust network security to address a new hybrid workforce. Talk to us about what this is and what is different about this from other offerings on the market.
Well, Emily, we've been privileged to be able to have 5 bleeding edge or leading edge products in the industry, all the way from cloud security to world-class network security. And there is a principle, as you saw, the White House also articulated it, where you basically do not trust any piece of the infrastructure, and you make sure that everybody's asked to validate as they try and access your system. So very fundamentally, it's a principle of zero trust. Our entire network security stack has been built on zero trust. We just refreshed it, relaunched it this past week to make sure it complies with every aspect of zero trust. It is deployed by over 80,000 customers around the world. So we feel like We are giving them the capabilities to be able to protect themselves in these times. We are going to extend and have extended that capability to our cloud security business as well as our endpoint business. So it is a situation where we have to take all these cybersecurity risks seriously, and that requires a fundamental zero trust architecture across the board.
You don't have to look very far to see state actors like Russia getting more brazen. What is the threat level you see when it comes to state actors in particular, whether it's Russia or China, over this next year?
Well, it's an uneven playing field. If you can bring to bear the capabilities of a nation state against a company, against a particular piece of the government, or against a particular piece of our critical infrastructure, it's an asymmetric attack. So we have to not only prepare those individual entities, our companies, etc. We also have to have a national policy around making sure that security is paramount, and especially where we have mission critical assets. We have to make sure that they're tested multiple ways from Sunday, and we have to have clear policies around how to secure those assets going forward.